a process for creating instructional screencasts. No matter what kind of screencast you are doing, whether it's a course welcome video, an instructional content video, or feedback to students, you need to have a kind of step-by-step process. And what I'm going to do in this video is share with you what I think is the most efficient and useful step-by-step process for creating instructional screencasts. Obviously, you will modify this and develop some strategies and creative styles of your own. But I think in general, these are the things that kind of need to happen to get from an idea to a finished screencast video. So let's walk through the 6 steps in order. I'll describe each of the steps, and then I will give you an example to show you how this process looks in action. So step 1 is to plan. And I think planning is perhaps the most important step, just as it is in any kind of creative activity. You need to know where you're going. And there are times when I'm in a hurry and I don't do effective planning. I just kind of fire up the recording and go. And the result is my screencast is usually 3 times as long as it should be. So planning is the best way to develop a really concise, clear, efficient, and short video screencast. So what you need to do is identify your main goals. You know, what is the purpose? Think rhetorically. What is the purpose of the video? What are you trying to achieve? Then based on those goals, you create some kind of outline, notes, or script. You will, as you get more comfortable, you will find that you may not need to write a word-by-word script, but I often do write a word-by-word script and actually read it aloud when I'm doing the recording. That creates its own challenge and takes some practice so that you don't sound like a robot, but it really helps to keep yourself focused and on task. So create some kind of outline or notes or script to watch and keep yourself on track as you are recording the audio. And for a future reference, generally, if you are writing a word-by-word script that you will read verbatim, most people can read, when they're reading aloud, about 70 words per minute. So it's very, very few words fill up time very quickly. So in the example instructional video that I'm going to show, my script was about 720 words or something like that. And that was like 6 minutes. So 70, 80 words per minute is the most you can get. You can practice and time yourself if you do that, but less is more. Generally, scripts are a lot shorter than you think. And then once you have kind of scripted out verbally what you're going to say, then you need to think about what you're going to show. Think about the visual side of it and create some kind of a storyboard or visual outline or sketch something on a piece of note paper just to kind of think about, okay, if I want to make these points and this is my outline, what do I need to show on my screen? So that's the planning step. Step 2 is to prepare. And preparation basically is kind of getting everything ready before you start recording. So gather your visual assets. If you need any photos, any images, if you're going to show the website for your course, Blackboard site, if you're doing a tour or something like that, get all of those things ready. You may create a slide presentation as I'm doing here. I'm showing slides at the moment, so sometimes your slide presentation becomes part of the visual that you share in your video. And then if you're doing website tours or if you're showing particular files or walking through sample papers or something, make sure that those are fired up and ready to go so that you basically have everything that you are showing on screen at your fingertips as you move into the recording stage. So that's step 2, prepare. Step 3 then is to record. And it's a good idea to rehearse the script, maybe even do a dry run and just record it once and then dump it and then record it a second time to be sure you're happy with it. But rehearse, practice, that's often better than trying to fix it later, get it right the first time. Then launch your screencasting software, check the capture settings, make sure that you're capturing either part of the screen or the whole screen. Make sure you're capturing your audio from the right microphone, capturing your webcam if you need to. Just get all the technical stuff set up so that make sure that you're recording the right things in the right way. And then hit the big red button and actually do the recording. Step 4 is to edit. I suggest that before you do any editing, you play back and review the raw recording file. And often I find that if I'm talking along and I make a mistake and I screw something up, or I say, I don't remember what, I just pause for about 10 seconds. It creates a flat line in the audio file, and then I can go back and find that and clip it out later. So editing is the place where you can correct yourself if you stumbled or repeated. You can just stop and go back and edit that stuff out later. We'll talk more about editing in some later videos, but play it back, review it, find anything that you want to edit out or shorten or make clips to the audio tracks and the video tracks as needed, and then add titles and captions as needed. In the editing stage, that's where that happens. If you're adding closed caption in for accessibility, if you want to add title slides, if you're doing any effects or animation or things like that, that's all added in the editing process. And then step 5 is to export it, because at the end of editing, you have a file, but it can only be played back in your software, whether that's Screencast-O-Matic, ScreenFlow, or Camtasia. You need to export that file to a video that can be uploaded and viewed by anyone. And in most cases, that file will be a .mp4 video file. That .mp4 is the most common format for video files today. And if you're uploading to Google Drive or to YouTube or to Vimeo, MP4 file works great. So export the file. It sometimes takes a few minutes depending on how long your video is. Then you will have a .mp4 video file. Open that file and play it back on your own machine and make sure it worked properly. Make sure that the quality of the video and the audio is what you need to be. So do a little QA, quality assurance, proofread it, view it, QA that file, and make sure that it's ready for prime time. If not, you might have to go back and do some more editing or even re-record the whole thing if something messed up or it didn't come out the way you wanted. That's why you check it before you upload it. And then the last step is step 6 is to share it. And usually sharing comes in the form of uploading. You will have your exported .mp4 video file. You can upload it to a Google Drive folder, to YouTube, or to Vimeo. Test it again once it's uploaded, and then get the link or the embed code from that source, wherever you put it, Google Drive, YouTube, or Vimeo. Get a link or an embed code, and then copy and share that with your audience, whether that's on the discussion board, on your web page, in an email. There are many different ways to share it once it's uploaded to one of those sites. So that's the basic process. Let's just review really quickly. So step 1 is plan. Step 2, prepare. Step 3, record. Step 4, edit. Step 5, export. And step 6, share. Again, you may find that you will combine some of these steps. I often combine, in fact, planning and preparing. I often do my script writing and my visual assets, creating slides and finding photos. I kind of do those together, but for most purposes, we can separate them out. And basically, I suggest that you create an outline or a script first and then do the visual part. So let's look at an example of how this looks in practice. So I'm going to show you an example of a video that I created just a few weeks ago. It's a course orientation and welcome video for students in my RET 3326 technical writing course. So the first thing I did was identify my goals. My goals in this video in particular was to tell the students the main topics that we were going to cover in the course and the main learning outcomes for the course, and to kind of get them thinking about what the course is about. So I knew that I had to introduce 3 main concepts: information literacy, digital literacy, and audience awareness, because those are the 3 main categories of the learning goals for the course. So this is the script that I wrote. You can write it in Google Drive or Word or in hard copy or whatever you want, but this is the case of a video where I actually did script it out. It's about 720 words long, and you can see it's blown up fairly large on the screen. So first I introduced the concepts of information literacy, digital literacy, and audience awareness. Then I talked about collaboration a little bit, and then finally shared with the students the actual learning goals for the course right here. So I wrote a fairly complete script as the first step. For the second step, I created a Keynote presentation. Keynote is the Mac version, Apple version of PowerPoint. Some of you probably know that. I like Keynote better. I think it's easier to work with, and I'm just a Mac person. And I knew the other thing I wanted to do was I wanted to make this a fairly interesting visual presentation. So I wanted to have visual photos. So I did some photo research. You can go on Flickr and look for Creative Commons licensed images, but here was an image I found that I thought was a neat way to visualize information overload. This is talking about filtering information, the ability to evaluate sources. Here's a cute little Scrabble thing, information literacy. There's a sample of a software application, Photoshop. There's a little word cloud about literacy. There's a nurse using an iPad. There's an audience to talk about audience awareness. And then I ended up with this cheesy, literal goal, soccer goal, to suggest learning goals. And then I had a slide for each of the learning goals, and then ended with this to sort of suggest the idea of the pathway that we were working toward our destination in the course. So those were the slides that I created. So at this point, what I would do to do the actual recording step, I would print out my script or put it on my tablet or do something so that I can see it and read it. Because when I'm giving and recording my presentation, I'm not going to be able to have my script up on the screen like it is now because it would get in the way of the presentation. So for most of you, probably the easiest thing to do is just print it out and then set it in front of you on a little easel or something so that you can see it as you're reading along to give your presentation. So let's say I'm all ready to go. I have my script printed out. I have my slides in front of me. I've spent a couple hours putting my slides together, and I'm going to open Screencast-O-Matic. Here it is, that little blue circle. So we open Screencast-O-Matic and hit the create a new recording. It's going to ask me, do I want the webcam? I'll say yes, I'll do the webcam. You can see my audio is triggering. It's capturing the right amount of audio. I want full screen. And so then we hit the red record button. 3, 2, 1, go. Hi, and welcome to Technical Writing. Of course, I need to play this. Hi, and welcome to Technical Writing. In this video, we're going to give an overview, and I start reading my script, and I go all the way through till the end. But we're not going to do the whole thing for this purpose. So let's say it's 4 minutes have passed, and I finished, and now I stop the recording. In this case, it ended up being 19 seconds. We'll say done. Click here to name your recording. This is called Course Overview. And we want to save as video file. Select Publish Options, MP4. It's going to save it to my desktop. And now I'm skipping the editing stage. We're not really going to get into that in detail in this video. We'll save that for later when we get to Camtasia. So I'm basically just going directly from record to export. But I push this. They don't call it export in the case of Screencast-O-Matic. They call it publish. Same thing. It's going to export an MP4 file called Course Overview to my desktop. I've left highlight cursor on. Quality normal. Let's see, you can do higher. I'm going to go higher and publish. And now this may take a minute. If your video is longer, it may take 20 minutes, depending on how fast your computer is. This is a fairly short video, so you can see it's going quickly. Okay. Now we should have a .mp4 file on our desktop. Oh. Hi, and welcome to Technical Writing. Of course, I need to play this. Hi, and welcome to Technical Writing. In this video, we're going to give an overview, and I start reading my script, and I go all the way. So there it is. So we can QA this. In my case, an MP4 file defaults to open in QuickTime Player. And now we have our file. So what we are going to do with our file is upload it. And I forgot my own step because I didn't have this prepared. So I'm going to log into my UALR. And we will put this in Google Drive. This is basically the same thing I did in the previous video, but it's worth walking through the process again because it can be a little complicated. So here's our course folder, and we're going to take this .mp4 file and just drag it. And now its upload is complete. And so there it is. And if I open this right now, it will say we're processing this video. So wherever you upload it to, whether it's YouTube, Vimeo, or Google Drive, the actual server on the other end that you have uploaded it to needs to process it and convert the file to whatever format it uses. So in some cases with a longer video, that may take, again, 15 or 20 minutes. It's not instantaneous by any stretch. It has to re-encode the video in several different sizes. So that may take a minute. And then in the meantime, all you need to do is locate that file, get a shareable link. Anyone at UALR with the link can view. Again, I'm doing this to Google Drive. And then I'll go to our course homepage, discussion board. We'll just put this in the meta forum for now. Create thread. Practice video 2. Here is the sample for my video on and then I will do the little embedded link. Again, I still have the URL copied to my clipboard. You can see there it's google.com and then a bunch of numbers that are generated by Google. And I want to set this to open a new window, insert, submit. Now, let's see if Google is done transmitting the file. Yep, there it is. Go. Hi, and welcome to Technical Writing. Of course, I need to play this. Hi. It worked. So there it is. So I've completed the 6-step process and gotten my video to a place where I can share it with the rest of you. So I hope that's useful. That's kind of an overview of the process. We have not gone into a lot of detail of the technical side of things in terms of capture settings and the editing process and the export process. I'll have some more tech support videos for that later. But in this video, I just wanted to refresh your memory about the general process and talk mostly about that 6-step process for creating and planning your screencast. I hope that's useful, and I look forward to seeing what you produce. Thanks.